Ladies and gentlemen, the American jury and Bulldog Nation, welcome to the last day of March. I actually thought March only had 30 days for a brief moment. I did an April Fool's Day joke last night. Obviously, the joke was on me. But folks, this is incredible. I do not watch local news. I don't. I just can't handle it.
Neither does anybody else.
Obviously, Roger would know, Mr. Channel 9. But you know what? I come home at night before we eat. My wife usually has the local news on, and she rotates between different channels. I don't know how she does it. And I watched the other night this little blurb about what's going to happen on opening day. And the Enquirer posted something yesterday too. And it just makes you want to vomit. You know, the idea that they're still doing crowd control and how they're trying to spin everything. And it's sad that the Cincinnati Reds and their ownership is all part of the corporate slavery movement. And you know, it doesn't have to be that way. Look at how the NFL handled this compared to baseball. But is it irony or is it just fate that it looks like opening day is going to be colder than hell? I used to go to one game a year for the Reds, opening day. I'd buy great tickets down low, opening day. It's the only game I'd see. I have zero interest in going to opening day. Hell, they've already started out with a couple of their good pitchers on the disabled list. I mean, the same thing happens to the Reds year after year after year. But the way they're trying to spin opening day to make it pizzazzy, it's going to fall flat. I got a good buddy of mine that was a groundskeeper who resigned. He was a groundskeeper for like 20 years. He resigned over the kneeling that happened last year. He said, I can't be part of this. He said what we ought to do is buy a bunch of tickets, take in American flags, wave American flags, and be patriotic as hell. They'll probably ask us to leave, wouldn't they? Opening day, Cincinnati Reds. It ain't what it used to be. Trump 45 office website. He's opening up a site where you can contact him about appearances and everything else. We might as well, shouldn't we? Let's see if he wants to be on the Bulldog Show. Hell, we can do it remotely from Mar-a-Lago. Doesn't hurt to ask. You know, it struck me how much the Democrats, you know, sometimes you get lost in the forest, you don't see the trees, and then sometimes you see the trees, don't you? Isn't it amazing how the Democrats love criminal behavior? And the American 10 accepts criminal behavior? They don't, it amazes me. They go all woke on us, but when it comes to crime, the crime of Hunter Biden, the crimes of Chicago, the crimes of murder, the crimes of Epstein, Weinstein, all of that, all those people get defended by the American Communist 10. But by golly, if you say something that violates woke rules, look the hell out. The latest on Hunter Biden is beyond disgusting. And it's not just that he's a drug addict and that he's a scumbag, but it's the depths of his scumbaggery. The emails between he and his first wife is unbelievable, and it's sad. It tells you what kind of a person Hunter Biden is. In other words, he's just not, it isn't just the conduct that he did, it's how he treated her after she found out about it all. In other words, I mean, just cold, mean, nasty, narcissistic. I mean, he's a sick dude. And yet, nothing happens with all those ABC news stations, the American Communist 10. But can you imagine if Don Trump Jr. or Eric Trump did everything Hunter Biden did? I'm telling you, folks, Joe Biden is not, the whole Biden family, they're not good people. They're sick people. They're scary people. They're criminals. They're gangsters. All behind a handsome smile. All behind that handsome smile. Unbelievable. Matt Gaetz. Good for Matt Gaetz. What's the number one rule that I say all the time if you're innocent? Shout it from the mountaintops. It comes out that the Justice Department was investigating Matt Gaetz, representative from Florida, big Trump supporter, because he had sex with some 17-year-old across state lines, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out that Matt Gaetz flipped the switch, and his father was wearing a wire, and he says they were subject to like a $25 million extortion. Have you ever been subject to an extortion? I have. And I'm telling you right now, this guy played it well. And what's he do? He goes on Tucker Carlson to deny it, explain it. It's beautiful. Matt Gaetz is obviously innocent. And that former Justice Department guy who now works in a law firm, let's hope he goes to jail. Shaking down a Trump supporter. Hope it blows up in their face. By the way, Matt Gaetz is engaged to a woman who is 26 years old. By the way, he's only like 38, I think. Give me a break. Fox News ratings. I know a lot of you bash Fox News because of some of the presidential election coverage, and I get that. And everybody wants to go to One American News, Newsmax, so forth and so on. But folks, Fox News is still the king, and I personally, despite them disappointing me from time to time, give me a break. Hannity, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, everybody on the five except Juan. I mean, Fox, Brett Baer, straight up. I can't stand Sandra Smith. But come on, man. Fox News, and they killed it in the ratings. You know why? All those other news stations, they don't have Trump to kick around anymore. Guess what? Fox News has Biden to kick around. It's beautiful. Teflon Hillary, that's her new nickname for me. Teflon Hillary calls you and I, we're shameless gun worshipers. Not deplorables anymore. We're just shameless gun worshipers. Coming from Teflon Hillary. Does anybody listen to that winch anymore? I don't think so. Social Security. The old folks, the people that regularly get a Social Security check or disability check haven't got their stimulus check yet. The government at work. They say it's because one department hasn't provided the information to the other department. Really? 64% in this country see cancel culture as a threat. Again, that's hopeful. But what's the other 36%? They're okay with it? But at least we're up to 64%. Papa John's. I am one of the few people in America, I think, that defended John Shatner. His reference was, he didn't say the N-word, it was a reference. And I can't believe how Papa John's turned on Shatner. The guy founded the damn company. Well, it turns out that the PR firm, over some dispute of payment of bill, are the ones that engineered all of this. It's a wild story. John Shatner ought to sue the hell out of that PR firm. They set him up. By the way, it was nothing. But in this woke culture world, I tell you right now, if I owned that company, I wouldn't go anywhere. And you're telling me Papa John's is better off without Shatner? I don't think so. He was the face of that company. McConnell claims he's not retiring. That's all I want to just report on that. He says he's not retiring. So, oh well. Maybe we'll retire him. You know what? I hate using somebody on the other side sometimes, even in a story. But it's hard not to when they come across with some common sense. Give them their due, right? Rahm Emanuel says we need to focus on the criminal and not the gun. That's significant, folks. Rahm Emanuel, let's focus on the criminal and not the gun. He knows that from being in Chicago. You know what Rahm Emanuel's like? And I'm willing to admit this. A lot of you won't admit it. I'm willing to admit it. Some of you might disagree with this. I hated Dennis Rodman until he joined the Chicago Bulls. Then I liked Dennis Rodman because he was on my team. Rahm Emanuel is like one of those political figures that you hate, but if he was on your team, you'd like to have him because he's a badass when it comes to politics. He is. Even though I disagree with him, Rahm Emanuel is a tough kahuna. And you know what? He said something wise. And if somebody on the other side is saying that, maybe it'll spread a little bit on the other side. Biden's biting beast, I call him. This German Shepherd dog has come back to the White House and bitten somebody else. Joe Biden was rumored to have made the wrong recommendation and decision on every foreign policy issue while he was serving in the Biden administration. He even opposed getting getting bin Laden. Folks, he was there 47 years. He's just wrong. The guy can't even get it right on a pet. Who has a German Shepherd as your friendly pet hanging out with everybody? By the way, German Shepherds scare the hell out of me. They're smart dogs. They're great police dogs. I know some of you might have them for pets, but most of America doesn't have a German Shepherd for a pet. What do you have for a pet? You got a golden retriever. You got a lab. You got a friendly, sweet dog. Joe Biden brings to the White House a German Shepherd dog that bites people. He can't even get the dog right. Paris deputy mayor, this is Paris in France, says that white people just need to shut up when it comes to anything with race. We don't have the right to speak. Screw her. Screw France. Let's start calling them patriotic fries again. I'm just teasing. I thought that was stupid. You hear about this one? Washington State has admitted, you cannot make this up, Bulldog Nation. Washington State has admitted 0 deaths by the flu this year. 0 deaths. I'm happy for them. Folks, I will never not believe that the coronavirus is just our flu strain for the year. I mean, and maybe it's a little more deadlier. But come on. No flu deaths in Washington. How the hell did that happen? Jim Acosta. I can't stand this guy. And he says, he wore this shirt that says, I covered the impeachment. Who takes this guy serious? I don't take him serious. Jim Acosta. How do these people keep their jobs? Well, we know how they keep their jobs because their bosses are all the same as they are. Jim Acosta. Credibility of 0. -0. I think my mathematical training says that that's impossible. Virginia teachers are under threat of being fired if they complain about equality training. First Amendment, again, another great example, out the window. Sheet music. Sheet music of Beethoven, Bach, Wagner, on and on and on. Any kind of sheet music. They're saying is too white. Oxford is saying it's too white. When will we hit rock bottom? I think the only way we bounce back from wokeness, we have to hit rock bottom. Is sheet music it? When do we hit rock bottom? Can we just please hit rock bottom so we can bounce back? Sheet music is too white. San Diego teachers are teaching more illegal immigrant children in person than regular students. Explain that. Which gets me to my last point. This is a meme that's flying around. And by the way, memes have some great stuff in it, don't they? I mean, come on, a meme is just a statement. Is it true or not? But here's what's crazy. Think about this, folks. They are requiring us to have a vaccination passport in some states. They're saying we're going to have a vaccination passport to leave and travel outside the country. And we have all these restrictions and lockdowns on us in this country. Yet illegal aliens are allowed to come into this country positive for COVID, just released out in the public. What's the rule? If it doesn't make sense, there's some corruption somewhere. I mean, explain that. You can't. That's why nobody will sit in that chair to answer these questions. I mean, I would love to turn to a liberal and say, can you explain all these restrictions upon Americans as it relates to COVID, and everybody gets just to pour across our border into the United States, COVID positive or not? And they get in-person school training. How would a little liberal ever answer that? They couldn't. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Enjoy the last day of March.